Good morning, everyone. I'm Wilson Wong. Thank you for joining me in today's gardening masterclass on growing leafy vegetables. Leafy vegetables, to be frank, is one of the easiest to grow edible plant around, okay, amongst the rest that we are all familiar with. Today, I'm very happy that, to be frank, that I can be standing here because earlier in the week, I was carrying my dog. To be frank, I got a back sprain. I couldn't get up. So luckily I recovered, and I'm here to be able to share with you how to grow all these edible plants. And well, Chinese New Year has just passed, right? Yesterday, I'm pretty sure all of you have celebrated your Zap Gourmet, right? Some of you eaten your steamboat, enjoyed it. So have you ever wondered at that time, okay, for those of you who have not grown leafy vegetables, that you want to grow it so that next year you can enjoy homegrown vegetables in your steamboat? Well, you did the right thing. You joined my gardening masterclass session. I'm going to share with you how to do it. It's never too late. Use this 1 year to go and perfect the growing. All right, and to be frank, you can see that I gave leafy vegetables this Chinese New Year a very, very special year this year, okay? When I visited my relatives, my family, and my friends, I gave them, well, the usual oranges, but also a pack of homegrown leafy vegetables, right? Why? Oranges, 大吉大利. Give them vegetables, 财源广进. Very apt, right? So I'm pretty sure, they make very good leafy gifts for your family and friends during Chinese New Year or any time. Who doesn't like homegrown, pesticide-free leafy vegetables? Okay, so I'm going to share with you how to grow them, the steps, and I hope that the step is clear, the procedures are clear, and make you equipped with the necessary knowledge. Okay, so let's start. Let's take a look at some of the common leafy vegetables. I'm pretty sure all of you know what is chai sin, right? We eat the leaves, but also at the same time, sometimes we allow it to flower, and we also eat the flowers. So sometimes that's why the common English name that you might come across online is called Chinese flowering cabbage. And then, of course, you have the bok choy, xiao bai cai, sometimes also known as bak choy. And there are many different cultivars, slightly different in terms of their shape and their size. You have your Shanghai green, which is also one of the types of bok choy or bak choy. And of course, in the supermarket, you will see what we call jiu bai cai or gao bek choy, okay, which is a slightly bigger version of the xiao bai cai. But what is distinctive about this is darker greener leaves and very white petioles, okay? Your xiao bai cai is slightly light green. And of course, there's a tiny little one, kind of like honey, I shrunk the kids, but in this case, I shrunk the bak choy. So you got this nai bai cai, also known as milk cabbage, because it's a milk white petiole, or also known as dwarf Chinese cabbage. It's very small. And of course, there are some that are not so common, but during the recent Chinese New Year, probably you will see on sale what we call the tat soy, okay? It's a flattish vegetable, okay? Very flat like a plate. So tat soy, or sometimes called fu gui cai in the supermarket. And if you are a fan of Japanese food, you probably will have known or seen what we call mizuna, also known as the Japanese mustard greens. And of course, komatsuna somehow looks like a Japanese version of what we call chai sin, okay? Komatsuna, also known as the Japanese spinach, okay? So basically, all these vegetables, right, they belong to the Brassica rapa complex. So if you look closely, you realize that they actually look kind of similar. To me, I think they all taste similar, okay? Other common leafy vegetables, you have your kailan, which is also known as Chinese kale. It is related to our cabbages that you eat, cauliflowers and all that. And of course, I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with the loose leaf lettuce. There are many different types. Those of you who like to eat salads, you have the red leaf one with different leaf shapes and all that. And the loose leaf lettuce is something that is very popular during Chinese New Year because the Chinese name is called Shen Cai. Shen Cai means grow wealth. So it is a very commonly featured vegetable during Chinese New Year with the auspicious meaning. And of course, you have the Chinese mustard, which is a little bit on the bitter side. And of course, there are other types of leafy vegetables, the last two. Kangkong, water spinach, and you have your Chinese spinach, also known as bayam. And there's many different types of Chinese spinach. Leaves that are green, the green version, totally red version, the leaf shapes are long or they are round and all that. There are many different types. So this is not an exhaustive list. There are many other leafy vegetables. And there are people who actually grow leafy vegetables such as like your kale and so on. There are many different types of kale, which I didn't show on my slides, but I'm sure most of you know. So what is the commonality amongst all of them? Is that actually they can be grown, okay, from seeds. And I'm going to share with you how to raise them from seeds, okay? First, what I'm going to do now is to share with you the seed raising media, okay? This is the seed raising media. And you can see that it is very loose, all right? It is needed to be loose because so that there's aeration, there's good drainage, and it allows the roots to penetrate and grow. Okay, so for the small little seedlings, they need such a media to grow well. So what are the ingredients that you need? So if you are the type that want to make your own, okay, this is what you need. You can buy this. This is what we call peat moss. The white bits that you see inside the mix just now is perlite. And you see some bits of golden particles. That's what we call vermiculite. Okay? So what you need to do is to get equal parts of these three ingredients and mix them, and you get this. You can use this for seed raising, but also at the same time, you can use it to grow leafy vegetables in containers. I would prefer to use a soilless mix like this because it is sterile and you have less pest and disease problems. Let me put this away. The next thing that you probably need, okay, is what we call seed trays. You can buy from nurseries commercially available seed trays that look like that. I like to use this one because it's hard plastic. It lasts for a very long time. And a lot of people ask me, Wilson, below this seed tray got many big holes there. Wouldn't the media drop out? The answer is no. What you need to do is to put it inside a tray. You fill it up. After you fill it up, you firm down a little bit. The media is not going to drop. And the very reason why the holes below are so big, okay, is for you to push the seedling plug out easily. Imagine if it's a very small hole, how do you take it out? Right? So the big hole below has a purpose. Some of you will probably want to upcycle your plastic egg trays or your paper egg trays. So for me, I demo something today. I show you something that most of you at home would do, okay? So I have a egg tray, which I double it as a seed tray now. What you need to do is that at the bottom of each cell compartment, you need to make a hole, okay? Because you need to let water drain out. Okay, remember that, make holes. And of course, if you have the lid, you can put it like that so that you can move it around easily. Okay? Now, let me demonstrate how you fill the thing up. Pretty straightforward. Apologies, a bit messy. Oops. Okay. Just tap it a bit to even out. I prefer to use it when it's do this when it's dry. When you When it's moist, it's very hard to handle. Okay, it gets sticky and all that. Next, get a watering can. I use one with a very small spout. Just moisten it. All right. There is a reason why I moisten the media. Because later on, you want to make a hole in it to sow your seed. So it is necessary that it is moist so that the hole does not collapse upon itself. So what I have here is a upcycled bamboo chopstick. You know, when you tap out food, we always throw this away. Just give it a wash, and you can use it for gardening, for staking, well, and for making holes when you sow seed. So I usually sow my seeds about 1 cm in depth below the surface of the growing media. So I don't really use a ruler, more or less. So I use my finger here, you can see. I more or less make a mark like that. Okay? I make a hole. Okay? As easy as that, very fast. Now, what I'm going to share with you now is how to sow the seeds. Okay? I get myself a clean saucer. There's only 6 holes here, right? 6 compartments that will give me 6 seedlings. So technically, I will use 6 seeds. Am I right? Assuming that if I use fresh seeds, the germination rate is good, I should have 6 seedlings coming out. Some of you probably will be a little bit worried saying that, oh, will I get all 6 seedlings, you know? So what you can do is that you can put up to 2 seeds. But what you should never ever do, which I saw in a lot of Facebook posts, okay, Instagram posts everywhere, that people just put a pinch of seeds inside. Then you have a lot of seedlings inside. Then after that, what is going to happen? A lot of people will tell me, Wilson, how to transplant? Seedlings getting very crowded. And next, you're wasting seeds. You're wasting the seeds actually, because when you try to separate them, you break them, okay? And they don't grow well because they're so crowded. So the proper way of doing seed sowing is to use a seed tray like that, or the professional seed tray that I showed just now. Put 1 seed up or 2 seeds into each cell and let them grow. Okay? So I'm going to share with you how to do this properly. So I have a packet of vegetable seeds here. Pretty sure all of you are, can even see what these seeds are. These are what we are familiar with. These are the Naipai seeds. Okay. So carefully just put a few seeds into my saucer. Okay. With clean hands and fingers. All right. Dry. I will make use of my both hands for a reason. One, for example, for me, for my left hand, I'll use my right hand. I'll use it to pick up the seeds. My left hand, the finger, is used to close the soil or the growing media over here. 2 separate things. They are doing 2 separate things because you don't want to contaminate the seeds, just in case, later on you want to keep the seeds. Okay, what is important to note is that after you pour out the seeds here, you should just pour out just enough, more or less. Whatever excess seeds you have, you can put it in a separate packet. Don't return it back to the original packet because you don't want to bring back contaminants. Okay? So, I teach you something. Another tip. Very often, when we sow seeds like that, 6 of them here, not difficult. But when you have a big tray, like what I showed you just now, 72, 100 cell seed tray, halfway through probably you say, which cell have I sown? So, key to this is that I teach you how to do this. I make holes here, right? I take my seed. I put it into the hole. I close. So, whatever that have been closed, I know I have sown it already. The seed is inside. So let me demonstrate again. put in the seed, close the hole. Then I know it's done. Okay? So, for demo purposes, that's all about it. All right? I'm going to do this. So, what is important here is that when you, after finish sowing your seeds, put it in a bright place, away from the rain. Okay? Window sill or outdoor in a garden with a clear shelter on top. Because once the rain comes, it's going to wash everything out. Okay? Next, vegetable seedlings like this, leafy vegetables, they all love the sun. So you must make sure that you put this in a what I say, bright or sunny place, with at least 4 to 6 hours of filtered sunshine or direct sunshine. If it's under direct sunshine, make sure you keep track of the moisture, make sure they're watered, but they must be protected from the rain. And of course, this stage, they're very vulnerable. The snails will come and all that, so keep watch on your seeds. So if you put this in the right place with sufficient sunlight and all that, what you're going to get will be this. You see my seedlings are stout, able to stand up on their own, okay? Not long and spindly and crowded and all that. So this tiny seed tray here, made from an egg tray, will probably be about 2 to 3 weeks old. That means they have 2 to 3 weeks after germination. What will happen here is that, I want to show it to you, is that the most, should I say, the bottom, the oldest leaf, okay, right at the bottom here, this one, okay? This is the seed leaf. The set of leaves that appear when the seed first germinate. After which, what will happen is that the subsequent sets of leaves are what we call the true leaves. Okay? These leaves are what we are familiar with, meaning that if you see your chai-sing leaves, you'll see mini chai-sing leaves. So about 2 to 3 weeks after germination, under the right sunlight conditions, okay, you probably will have gotten at least 2 sets of true leaves. And at this stage, your seedlings are ready for transplanting. Okay, either into your community garden or allotment garden bed, or into a trough. If you're an apartment gardener, you're growing it at home in the balcony or along your corridor. Okay, so I'm going to share with you how to do transplanting next. So this is my trough that I'm going to use to plant all these seedlings. What you actually need next is a recycled disposable spoon. You know, you eat chicken rice, all right? Don't throw it away lah. We all can use it for gardening. All right, so like I said again, the growing media I can use similar to what my seed raising mix is, all right? Now, let me demonstrate. Using a spoon. In this case, because I'm using an egg tray, what you shouldn't do is to pull the seedling out or try to tip this over and take the seedling out. You're going to mess things up. You're going to kill the seedling some way, somehow, or damage its roots. I've done it before. I know it. I'm like you, okay? For some of you who are beginners, all the mistakes that you made, you're going to make or you have made, I've undergone it. I've experienced it. Okay, so using a spoon like this, go all the way down as far as you can, scoop the seedling out. Can you see? It comes out as a plug and it's empty here. Why is this important? You need to take the root ball, okay, without damaging the roots. Okay, so this is one seedling plug. Okay, so that you don't damage the roots. So when you plant it directly into the trough later or into the garden bed, the plant or the seedling can straight away grow roots and continue growing. You don't want to damage its roots, otherwise the plant will say, I'm stressed, I need to grow roots again. Then it will make the growing cultivation period longer, okay? And you may meet more problems. So now, with this seedling, I'm going to put it into the trough. So I can just make a small hole here. Okay, you can moisten this before planting, all right? What is important is that when you plant the seedling, make sure that the soil level here is the same as this one, as your seedling plant originally. Don't bury it too deep, okay? Okay, this is how it looks. Water down. Okay, this is to let the growing media settle, make good contact with the root ball, so that there's no air pockets. So this is how it looks. Can you see? All right. There is some spacing in between, which I'll tell you in a minute. So when you plant them this way, eventually you'll get something like this. Okay, like all my troughs over here. They look very pretty, highly ornamental, looks as good as your ornamental plants out there. So I have the purple 小白菜, and I have 奶白 over here. You can see that you can use this as decor at home. All right? So now let's talk a little bit about spacing of seedlings. Okay? It is important for you to space your seedlings sufficiently, all right? Depending on the type of leafy vegetable they are growing, all right? After you take them out from the seedling plug, you plant them, okay? Like your chai sim and your 小白菜, okay, needs to be about 10 cm apart. Your Chinese mustard, your kailan, and your lettuce, because they grow bigger, maybe 15 cm apart, okay? Now what I want you to see now is that the effects of overcrowding. The picture on the left, okay, is when you don't give your seedlings sufficient space. For example, you can see just now when we sow our seeds in plugs, okay, sometimes 2 seedlings come out, you find it a waste to remove one of them, to thin it out. Then you plant it. Then when the 2 grow up together, they will squeeze, not enough light and all that. Then you get substandard vegetables, become very small, as you can see from the picture. All right? Whereas if you compare to the picture on the right, one plug got 1 seedling, space them out accordingly, and they grow to their full potential. They look like little round flowers like that on your garden bed. Very, very pretty. And this is what you should do. All the leafy vegetables that you should use the seed plug method are those that tend to grow bigger. They need to have a spread. Okay? But for some of you who are familiar with leafy vegetables, all right, such as kangkong and Chinese spinach, the bayam, by looking at the picture, you can see, okay? On the left is your kangkong, on the right is your Chinese spinach, your bayam. These 2 leafy vegetables have a thin stem that grows up with a bunch of these on top. They are quite different from your nai bai, your chai sim, your pak choy. There has a rosette of leaves. So what happens is that these kangkong and bayam, they actually can be grown closer, all right? So therefore, people use the broadcast method, meaning that you sow directly into your garden bed or into your trough. But then again, word of caution, don't sow so thickly, okay? They still need space to grow, so you can sow them, no need to be so regimental, Okay, you can sow them, spread them out. But because they can grow closely, that's why you can use the broadcast method. All right, and they will grow tall and they'll shade each other. So what's going to happen is that they're going to stretch. So that's why your kangkong and your bayam, sometimes when you buy from the market, they're very long stems. All right, they shade each other. As a result, the plant will stretch. And that's what people like sometimes, because you got long tender stems, you got more mass per plant, and you can enjoy. Okay? Now, I talked about sunlight just now. I talked about seed raising mix and your potted mix. But if you are a community gardener or allotment gardener, or just a fortunate gardener with an outdoor property that you have an outdoor garden, you want to grow in soil, all right? A lot of people ask me about what is the ideal soil mix that should be used to grow leafy vegetables or any other edible plant. Okay, soil-based media, what you need to make sure is that it is well draining, aerated, and it is able to retain moisture. Okay, so how you do it, how do you ascertain, is that you go and take a ball of soil, moist soil from your garden bed, hold it in your hand, try to make it into a ball. Last time when we were young, we play plasticine and clay, right? So now you play around with soil. So you make it into a ball. After that, you use your hand to try to break it. Okay, either you clap and break it, or you use your finger to go and mess it up. If it breaks up easily, okay, it tells you that your soil is loose, fireable, all right? But if it resists breaking up, it becomes a flat disc. Like, you know, your plasticine ball, you flatten it, it becomes a flat disc. Then that tells you your soil is a bit heavy, sticky, like clay. So you need to actually amend it. So this test is what we call the squeeze test. Okay? And you want to amend this soil, it's very easy. Okay? You don't need to go and do what some people do in the allotment gardens. Right? They'll just change out the soil, buy new soil, put it in. Such a waste of money. There's so much work to do. Okay? And soil is a finite resource. And we should learn to work with it and make it good. All right? So how to do so, okay, is that you can use good quality compost, mix it in, all right? And then as you are mixing in that compost, you do the ball, make the soil into a ball and squeeze it via the squeeze test, and you ascertain. And if you find that by adding compost to that clay soil still not effective, sometimes you can add in coarse sand, or you can add in fine, that means very small particles of what we call expanded clay pellets. And then that will help to further make it looser and something that is more conducive for growing leafy vegetables. Okay? All right. So assuming that you have already amended your soil, now is to prepare your planting bed to grow your leafy veg. Okay? So as you can see on the picture on the left, I have a big container of chicken manure. You can use bone meal, organic fertilizer. These two kinds of fertilizers have a lot of nitrogen in them. Okay? They are very good for leafy vegetables. Leafy vegetables need nitrogen to grow. Okay? I apply it at about 1 kilogram per meter square of space. And I have a handheld chanko over there to help me mix. So looking at the picture on the right, I scatter this fertilizer evenly throughout. All right? Next, you need to mix. Okay? So let's take a look at the next picture. So you use your small hand chanko, mix it in nicely, okay, work it in, and then you flatten the surface, all right? You can flatten the surface with your hand or can use a rake. And you can see that actually I wore latex gloves, okay? That's to keep my hand clean, and also especially it's important for hygienic purposes, because for those of you who cook, you don't want soil to be in your fingers and all that. And of course, you don't want to have wounds on your hand. So what you need to do now, after you're done, okay, you can leave it a day or two to let it settle, all right? Then next, you can start transplanting. I'll do transplanting of my seedlings, say maybe during the cooler part of the day, either early morning or later in the evening. So do what I did just now, okay? You space them out. You can use a ruler, anything that helps you. But for me, I agar-agar more or less, okay? So What you do is that after you finish planting, you water down. Again, the same reason for the soil or the growing media to have good contact with the root ball. There's no air spaces. And then because out there now is sunny, your seedlings may not be able to take it. So some people will say, wow, after watching after a day you transplant, they may wilt. So some people will want to put a light shade cloth on top to provide some shade for about a week. Right? Let the plants get used to the environment, you remove the shade cloth. Okay? You might need to do that. So let's take a look at the picture here. Right after transplant, this is a bed of red summer bok choy seedlings, the red leaf one right after transplant. Looks very tiny, right? Okay, let's take a look 1 week after transplant. Can you see that they started to grow? So under the right conditions, sunny conditions, I started them with fertilizer there. Okay, they started to grow. You can see that 1 week after transplant, they started to perk up. Okay, they are getting used to the environment, and you would expect a growth spurt after this. Let's take a look 2 weeks after transplant. Wow, unbelievable, right? This is how fast your leafy vegetables can grow. All right, so under the right conditions, under sunny conditions with fertilizer, watering can be once a day or twice a day, depending on your growing conditions and your soil. We all know that, right? If your soil can retain more water, you don't have to water so often, right? Don't drown your vegetables. So week 2 after transplant, you need to put fertilizer. Okay, like what I told you, you use your organic fertilizer, scatter in between the plants, water down. Let's take a look 3 weeks after transplant. Boom! They have, and after the first week, usually the vegetables will have acclimatized and they will have entered what we call the exponential growth phase, meaning with time, the growth double or triples. So 3rd week after transplant, boom, they grow very, very fast. Actually, around this time, I can harvest already. It depends, okay, on your veggie, all right? How fast you grow them, the type of veggie and all that. There is no specific timing as to when you want to harvest your veggie one, to be frank, for your leafy veg. Because there are people who eat them as a leafy green, as a leafy green at the various stages. Even at the seedling stage, you can eat it as a microgreen. When it's small, you harvest them, they're very tender and nice to eat. But once they grow bigger, they will be a little bit more fibrous, although they will have more, you have in the mouth, okay? You can have a firmer, crunchier texture, okay? So it depends on what you want. But you don't let it grow too big because it will become very fibrous. Okay, so now when it comes to the harvesting part, all right? Again, do it early in the morning when your vegetables are not wilting. That's important. So what you need to do here is that I tell people to do this. Cut the plant at the base, okay? Put it one side. You come and deal with the roots, okay, later on. So that what happens is that your leafy vegetable, when you put it in the basket, is all clean. Don't do this. A lot of people will pull the vegetable out with the roots intact and all that soil and then put it into a basket. It is very messy. Okay, some people pull it out and then cut the roots. It's very, very messy. Okay, so then you have soil particles all over your plant and all that. Then later you have to go and wash and all those things. You get what I mean, huh? Those of you who have tried doing this. So cut, put it in a basket, bring it home, okay, or bring it indoors, and then start storing them. You can put them in a Ziploc bag. You can wrap them up in paper towels and all that. Okay, you need to make sure that the vegetable is able to breathe, but yet at the same time can keep in moisture so that they don't wilt. Put them in the chiller section, 4 degrees, not freezer, chiller, so that you can store them, to cool them down and to ensure that they have a longer shelf life. So before you cook them, right, then you wash them. You don't wash and when it's wet, you put inside the fridge. Your mom, your grandmother will tell you, please don't store wet vegetables. It's going to rot inside the fridge. Okay? So this is the traditional way of harvesting your veggies, cut at the base. But some of you may want to cut 1 or 2 leaves here and there. Then what happens is that this is what we call cut and come again vegetable. Okay, so that you can let the plant continue to grow as you harvest the leaves. So I'm going to share with you how to harvest the leafy vegetable, okay, when it's ready. So it gives me immense pleasure to do this. All right, so, well, you can use scissors. I like to use scissors because it's long, so they can access the plant. I know a lot of you like to use secateurs, but you know your secateurs is very short, very hard to get to it. All right, so like I said, okay, let me see how I can do this. One person demoing with a pot. Okay, not easy. So I cut it at the base, one plant. The crew waiting for my vegetable. Freshly harvested. No more vegetable. See? So clean. No soil on my plants. So that's how you should harvest them. Cut them at the base, all right? Put it away. Then you have all the stumps here, okay? Then you remove the roots separately. Very clean, okay? So that's how you should, manage your harvesting. So let's move on to the next topic. A lot of times people ask me, leafy vegetables, wow, a lot of pests, got snail, got caterpillar, don't know, got all kinds of things. So I always tell people, sometimes you don't need to look too far. You can go and look at what the commercial farmers do, okay, out there. You go Lim Chu Kang, Sengai Tengah, you can see. They grow it under tunnels and tents. So at home, it might be not practical for you to do a tent, very big one, okay, or tunnel. So commercially available, grow devices, okay, such as the one shown in the picture. You can see that there's a net, okay, and then there's a growing trough with self-watering containers below that gives your plants water. So the netting, what happens is that it denies the moth from getting to them, and then it prevents the snails from getting to them. And for those of you who are allotment and community gardeners, you're always complaining saying that your vegetable gets stolen, right? So by doing a tent like that, it also deters the human pests, okay? People from stealing your veggies. So of course, I must tell you this you must secure it properly, because snails, slugs, and even humans being pests, they will find their way to get to your plant. So secure it properly. So sometimes you might find it necessary to have the base of the netting buried in the ground, and then you open from the top. Okay, so let's take a look at the next picture. So that's how we design it, okay? So what happens is that you can see this tent, okay, is open from the top. There's a zipper that opens from the top. The whole entire structure, the base, is all buried in the soil. So you can bury about 10 cm below the ground with the netting in the ground, in the soil, so that nothing gets to it. It cannot crawl through the gaps at the bottom. Okay, and you open from the top. All right, so one of the things that I want to tell you also is that when you make all these protected cultivation devices, okay, you might want to put a plastic sheet on top that acts as a rain shelter. Because I'm pretty sure some of you know during the rainy season, maybe around December, early Jan, remember, it was quite rainy, right? A lot of rain. And our vegetable prices go up, okay, because of crop failure. So when there's excessive rain, what's going to happen? When rain comes down, you're going to hit your vegetables very hard. They're going to injure them, soil splashes, and then later they're going to get infected with disease. They start rotting. So it is good for you to have a shelter on top that prevents rain from getting to them, all right, so that your vegetables don't get damaged. They don't succumb to disease. That will reduce it. All right, so as you can see, there's such protected cultivation devices. They help you to protect from disease, help you protect from pests. All right, so it's actually a worthwhile investment, and you can enjoy your vegetables. And what is important here is this. Do you notice one thing? The netting that is used to make all these protected cultivation devices, they are all white in color. Do you realize? Okay, there is a reason why. Because it allows a maximum amount of sunlight to get through it. Okay, probably only those people who grow vegetables will know. For those of us who are into ornamental horticulture, a lot of you will go and buy black color shade netting, will use green netting, and whatsoever other colors. But what's going to happen is that you use all other colors, they're going to shade your vegetables, they're going to block out the sunlight. And that's not what you want. You want to have maximum amount of sunlight getting to your plants. Correct? So use the white netting. Okay? You can get it from the nurseries nowadays quite easily because gardening with edibles is the trend now. Everybody wants to grow edibles now. Okay, so I hope so far the sharing is systematic. Okay, I brought you through the growing conditions, the sunlight, the kind of media that you need to raise your seeds, the kind of media that you want to grow vegetables in troughs, in pots, all right? And also out there in the open garden, all right? Okay, one more thing. I think it almost slipped my mind. Let's take a look at this self-watering pot, okay? Yeah, it almost slipped my mind, okay? Okay, it is important for you to use, a pot that is of the right size. Remember, because your leafy vegetables, to be frank, they are not very deep-rooted vegetable plants. They're very shallow-rooted. But that doesn't mean that you can use a tray to grow them. All right? So around 15 cm depth, okay, over here. Okay, 10 to 15 cm depth is more than enough. Okay? And if you notice, these vegetables, they're growing in this big trough here. All right? With this depth. They have a lot of space to grow. So those of you who grow bonsai will understand this. If you grow a plant in a very small pot, the plant will be morimban, cannot grow, will stay there like that. Okay, will stay static. So the key to it is that you need to transplant it at the right stage, put them in the right pot of the right depth and size. Then they can grow. So I always tell people when you grow plants, you are not growing the plant. You need to grow its roots. A healthy root system, okay, is key to the health of the plant and how big it gets. All right? And for those of you who are apartment gardeners, okay, I'm an advocate of self-watering containers, okay, because it makes it easier for me to grow my plants. All right? Leafy vegetables grow perfectly well, okay, in self-watering troughs like that. So what's a self-watering container? Looks like that, okay? It has two parts. One is the outer pot that you see now, and then there's an inner pot. Okay, the inner pot, as you can see, holds the media. It has cotton wicks like that out here. This draws water up from this container. This container, the white one, the outer container, is the reservoir. It will hold the water, and the wicks here will soak the water and feed your plants. So depending on your growing conditions, okay? Under sunnier conditions, your plant drink faster, correct? Windy conditions also, they will drink more because they transpire more. So what happens is that with such a device, a simple device like that, can at least, make it easier for you to grow a leafy vegetable. You don't have to water every day. You just touch the soil. If it's moist, don't need to water. You don't want to drown your plants, okay? And a lot of such containers have this window here, all right? There's this little window here. This window tells you how much water is inside. So if you see that it is empty, probably it's time for you to fill it up. All right? Another point to note about such container is that at the side, very often there is a rubber stopper here. This rubber stopper is there for a purpose. People punch a hole here. Of course, there's a reason. All right? Why? Because I take it away so you see the hole. Where's the hole? Yeah, the hole is here. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to take this container out. Can you see that the hole is below the base of this container? All right. So why is the hole done this way? If you are going to use this container outdoors, okay, or a place where there's rain that's going to get to your plants, imagine there is no hole here. What's going to happen? This container is going to collect water, and slowly the water level will go up, and eventually this pot will become a swimming pool. Your leafy vegetables will have to learn how to swim. Otherwise, they die lah. Correct? So the reason why there is this hole is that if you are using this device in the outdoors, or a place where along the window, in front at the window, at the balcony where the rain is going to get it, you have to take the stopper out, so that when it rains, excess water will drain out from here. It will not collect inside the outer pot and become a swimming pool. Understand? Okay? So this is the easy way to grow leafy vegetables without resorting to an irrigation system. Okay, because of course you can go online platforms. This pot you can buy from the online platform. Don't ask me where to buy. You can easily search. Everybody now know how to do it. Okay, you can use an irrigation system, but for some people it's a hassle. All right, they say I have to go and install a tap near the garden and so on. And some of us who are not so good with our hands, you don't know how to connect the tubes and all that. So well, it can be quite a challenge for some of us. But I will tell you learn, because it really makes gardening easy, a lot easier. Time irrigation, auto irrigation at home. Okay, so that you don't have to say, wow, I need to go and hire somebody to water the plants every day when you're away, scared that your plant will wilt because you forget to water. Okay, so self-watering containers, the easy way out. And of course, if you have a lot of plants, auto irrigation system is something to look into. All right. Okay, so I hope I covered the basics of growing your leafy vegetables. All right. Let's move on to the Q&A section. All right. So let's start off with two very common questions. People ask this. Okay. This is from our social media platforms and also from our feedback and whatnot. My vegetable seedlings are thin and slow growing. May I know what is the issue? Okay, I told you before, you need to have sufficient sunlight so that your seedlings are not thin and spindly like tauge. Okay, so that's one. When there's not sufficient sunlight, there's no sun, no energy, how your plant going to grow? Correct? So please make sure your plants have sufficient sunlight. If not, you can invest in grow lights, okay, which I have talked about in some of my videos on the MParks YouTube channel. Go and look it up. There's sufficient resources out there on our MParks YouTube channel. Look it up. Next, my vegetable plot has many small owl snails. AWL. How do I get rid of them? The owl snail is that cone snail, that tiny little cone snail. Okay? So that snail wreaks a lot of havoc for leafy vegetable growers, because they will eat your seedlings, or they will chew small little holes for those leaves that are touching the ground. Okay? Some of you don't want to put snail pellet and all that. Then how? Okay, I'll tell you this. There's one way. A lot of you like to eat watermelon, right? Yeah, this snail likes to eat watermelon skin. So after you finish eating your watermelon, okay, you know the white color, the part that's inside, not the skin side, the inner side. You use this watermelon skin, put it on your garden bed, okay, facing down. So after a night or two, all these little snails will go and congregate under the watermelon skin. They like to eat. Then what you can do is that you take up the skin, remove the snail, and throw them away lah. Okay, so that's one way to actually, it's like using a bait method. You bait them to eat and then you remove the snails. Okay, so over time, as you slowly do this, okay, you should be able to reduce the snail population. All right, can. So let's take a look at other questions that I have. Okay, when is the best time that I can eat my kailan after I germinate from seed? So like I shared with you, sow the seed, 2 to 3 weeks after that you transplant. So I take it as 3 weeks after seed germination, you transplant, right? So kailan takes time to grow. It's a bit slower growing compared to your kangkong, your bayam, your chai sim, your whatever. Okay, so usually it takes about 4 weeks at least. So it's about 3 to 4 weeks so all in all, from germination to transplant to harvest, 7 weeks under the right conditions. Okay, you got fertilize it, okay, it got sun, yeah, okay, it takes longer. It's like kale lah, they take around the same time. They are slower growing, and mind you that kailan and kale, they are very nutrient hungry. Okay, you need to fertilize them so that they don't develop chlorosis, because sometimes the leaf will have these yellow color patches and the plant is very slow growing. They are very, very susceptible, kailan and kale. Okay, they eat a lot. Okay, next question. How much water and sunlight do my leafy vegetables need? Okay, so like I shared with you, sunlight, easy. Okay, sunlight, 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight. Filtered sunshine needs slightly longer, okay, maybe up to 8 hours, okay. So the more sunlight you have, the better, but make sure that they are watered lah, okay. So if it's very hot and very sunny, you make sure it's watered. If not, you put a very light shade cloth over it. In terms of water, okay, again, under sunny conditions, the soil will evaporate. The water in the soil will evaporate very quickly, and your plants will drink very fast. So you need to make sure that you keep it moist at all times. So people will water it once a day, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, okay? But what I always tell people is that use your finger, touch the surface of the soil, okay? I mean, not the surface. Surface always dry up fastest. Okay, you need to dig a little bit, you feel. If below the surface of the soil feels moist and your plants are not wilting, means that they are fine. Okay, you can water slightly later. Because sometimes, as avid gardeners, as beginners also, we very often kill our plants. We love them to death. We water them to death. They drown and they die. Okay? All right. So let's take a look at the next question. Why do my kailan leaves in good sunlight turn slightly yellow even though I watered the plants every morning and feed them with compost and fertilizers? Okay. You see, I will ask you the question, is it the new leaf or is it the old leaf? If the whole plant looks yellow and slow growing, probably it's lacking in nitrogen. Okay? And if the new leaves are a bit yellowish, means it's probably iron. Okay? So this, what you call that, kailan, I told you, very nutrient intensive, very demanding on iron. So basically, few things here. Number one, I will ask you your media. A lot of us like to use compost in our media. Are you buying good quality compost? Because sometimes your compost is not mature. So as you are growing your plant, compost that's not mature will continue to break down. They will take away the nitrogen from your plant, and your leafy vegetable need nitrogen. So as a result, the whole thing turns yellow, sluggish growth. Or, in the case whereby the new leaves are turning yellow, is your soil too wet? Because when it's too wet or too acidic, okay, especially if you're using peat moss mix, it can be a bit acidic. You need to put a bit of lime to bring up the pH. Because when iron is denied from the plant, the new leaves will turn yellow. So you need to either fertilize, check the pH, make sure it's not too wet. Okay? So now, let's move on to the next question. I do not want to use any pesticide. What's the best method to get rid of pests? Prevention is better than cure. Grow them under the shelter that I told you. You can deter a very big wide range of pests already. Okay? You can get rid of all the big guys. The snail, the slug, moths that will lay eggs that lead to caterpillars that will eat your leafy vegetable, birds, squirrels, humans included. So you net it up, close it up, settle. Okay. Next question. How do I take care of naipai so that they grow? My naipai always die after I transplanted the seedling. Okay, so this is the $1,000,000 question. I will ask you, how you transplant them? Did you grow them in a pot, scatter a lot of seeds, and then they're very crowded, then you take out? Okay, so this is a very common thing that people do. All right, so that's the reason why I tell you to grow them in the seed tray, so you don't have to go through the operation. Because when they are growing very crowded, you take them out, separate them one by one. What's going to happen? You're going to break the roots, you're going to break the seedlings. Don't waste time, okay? You're going to waste the seeds. So use the seed tray method that I told you earlier. Okay, one seed per cell, take it out, okay, using that method. Or if you use a commercial seed tray, by the third week or the second or the third week, the roots will have filled the cell. Then you take it out as a plug with the roots intact, less transplant shock. Basically, your seedlings die most of the time is because of transplant shock. The roots are damaged. You transplant them to the final location. The sun come out. They cannot uptake water. They will die lah. Okay. Next, what is veggie mix that is used in some nurseries, sold in some nurseries? Is it a good substitute for soil and potting mix for growing leafy vegetables? Okay, I'm not sure, okay, unless I see the label. But what I can tell you is that go and look at the packet. What is the base material? Okay, is it compost? If it is compost, make sure that it is something that's matured, okay, because veggie mix, if it's made out of immature compost and all that, all right, like I told you, it'll continue to break down, okay, and if you do not manage the decomposition process properly and adding nitrogen is needed, it's going to take away the nitrogen from your plants, and then your plants are going to grow. Okay, so make sure that if it's a compost-based mix, make sure the compost inside there is mature, okay, and you need to make sure that you fertilize your plants, okay, so that they grow. Next, what type of vegetable is easy to grow in Singapore? Well, I'll tell you that leafy vegetables is really probably the easiest. The crop cycle is very short. Okay, just now if you go through the steps, like what I detailed, very easy to grow, right? And then crop cycle within, say, maybe a month or 5 weeks you can harvest. Okay, the shorter the crop cycle, the less pest problems you will face. Okay, really. Okay, you grow okra, cucumber, tomato, chili. Wow, 2 to 3 months, very long. The longer the plant grows, the more chance the pest comes, more problem. Okay, understand? So shorter crop cycle plants the best. To be frank, microgreens the best, no pest one. From germination to harvest 10 days, nothing comes to it. You harvest, that's it. Microgreens and baby leaf, very easy, no pests. Okay, all right. So reaching the end, the last question: what is the best time to repot my young plants from the nursery into a bigger pot? Well, very simple. Number one, take a look at the plant. Okay, take a look at the pot. Has the roots filled the pot? Okay, if the roots have not filled the pot, how to see? Bottom lah. You flip the plant. Okay, I don't have a pot here. But you flip, look at the base. If have the roots started to come out, okay, you can open up the surface of the soil, see whether are the roots filling it. If it's filled already, then that's the time you want to move. Okay, you move it up to a slightly bigger pot, one size bigger. Okay, depending on how fast the plant grows. Fast-growing plants 2 sizes bigger, but slow-growing plant 1 size bigger. Don't go and suddenly from 1 room flat, suddenly go and upgrade it into a penthouse. Cannot, too big a place. The plant cannot get used to it. Okay, then you may because there's too much soil, too much water, and all that, it cannot uptake. Too big a pot. Remember, the bigger the pot, the more soil it can hold more water. So a very small plant in a very big pot is not going to help. Okay, it may be too wet for it. So only upgrade it to 1 or 2 sizes bigger, depending on the growth rate of the plant. Okay, in closing, this session, okay, if you come in halfway through, just now you forgot about it, come in halfway through, don't worry, you can still watch it, because we are going to put it as a video on our YouTube channel, most likely available tomorrow, okay? And we have a lot of videos, instructional videos, how to grow, how to mix your own soil, how to grow different leafy vegetables and different vegetables, okay, on our MParks SG YouTube channel. So can go and see. All right. Also on our MParks SG YouTube channel, I said already, our website has a lot of articles. You can go and read them up, watch them in your leisure to learn more. And last but not least, I thank you for joining me in this session. Happy gardening. See you soon.